Hey everyone, Mrhappy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mrhappy, aka Mrhappy Mondays, a weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. What's there to say? I've got a million videos that are already out about Dawntrail's unveiling, and probably a million more coming. So I should probably skip the theatrics at the start of this video and get right into the Q&A. Whether anyone came to the video after the announcements to ask stuff, or is just waiting for next week's, I don't know. But I don't have much else to share with you here at the start, so I want to get through that, and then I can focus on bringing you even more Dawntrail content. Special shout out to the sponsors over on Patreon. They don't have to support, but they choose to support, so I appreciate you greatly for that. And of course, don't forget about all of our affiliates and sponsors. I recently refreshed my Green Man Gaming link, which it was there all the time, but it's basically for discounts on games. You just make an account for free, and then you can go there and get Steam games discounted. I refreshed that, so if you were using it before, you got to refresh it now, and if you weren't using it, then go save some money, because why not, you know? But then we have all the other affiliates and sponsors there as well. Anyway, let's get to the questions. All right, before I even answer the question on screen, the very first comment was apparently the whole monitors thing last week was more of an audio engineering or audio file style thing where they mean ear monitors. Essentially, it was more high-end audio equipment and not visual monitors, which as a non-audio file slash audio is not like a passion of mine. I've never heard that term for it before. It's never been exposed to me. So now I know. That being said, it's just kind of, I guess my answer is still kind of the same. I think I said it was just kind of overkill to go for like really crazy equipment last week or so. Oh, no, I said that on stream. But yeah, that's it. It's just a lot of the times unless you are trying to get like a big write-off, a lot of the time it just ends up being like ultra overkill. So that's to cover last week's thing. Now for the one in front of us. Hashtag Mrhappy Mondays. Hey Haps, hi. Any chance you'd be interested in doing a quick rundown video of the OCP job t-shirt clues over the years? The Sam Raimi one you explained was bonkers, and I'd love to hear more about the speculation at the time for the others. So I did actually cover this in a video leading up to FanFest, but realistically the Samurai one is the most until this latest one actually, which is now the most bonkers one I've seen. Curious to see what the result ends up being. The rest were really simple. Scarlet Witch was Red Mage. Batman was Dark Knight. 007 was Machinist. That one was a little tough to figure out. I think I saw a few people get it right, but it was either that or there's a character from like an old Final Fantasy anime. I don't know his name. I think it was Final Fantasy Unlimited or something, who had like a gun with like magic bullets in it and stuff like that. Some people thought maybe Gun Mage from 10-2. So that one, none of them were crazy because we didn't really understand what it was. We didn't know it was going to be a fizz ranged either. Like we just didn't know exactly what to expect. So that's the kind of second place one prior to Dawntrail. What else was there? There was the Reaper shirt. He had the second shirt was more obvious, but he wore two different shirts for Reaper that were both like featured the undead and a sickle and all sorts of stuff like that. He had the Bugs Bunny shirt, which was for Viera instead of for a job. And he didn't have a shirt for Astro. I don't think he had a shirt for Sage, and I think that's all of them. So yeah, there's not really a whole lot. We did lose a bit of the shirt fun when we lost the physical fan fests for Endwalker, but all the same, yeah, I covered that, at least the most important bits of it, in a few other videos and in one of my Dawntrail videos. Hashtag MHM. I like it. Saves me some talking. Until I spend the time to say it saved me from talking, and then spend the time to tell that. Hey, Haps, just going to say you're inspiring me to get more physically active with all the DDR talk. Yeah, it should be here on Monday, so when you guys see this, I should have it later that day, and then I should be starting to stream it, hopefully Tuesday. That's assuming it actually gets here on Monday, of course. Easy question this week, and I'll save any FanFest questions for another time. Oh, okay. How do you feel about EverQuest franchise, and have you played any of them? One of my favorite PlayStation 2 games growing up was Champions of Norath. I didn't dive into EverQuest much other than Champions of Norath, but I always had a fascination in it. Unfortunately, my biggest exposure to EverQuest, and I say unfortunately, it's not like a negative for EverQuest, is the old vent harassment videos where there's that like really young kid who's like trying to tell his friend, hey Daileron, my mom, she got me this new game. If you know the video, that's like the old age of the internet where harassing randos on Ventrilo, which was for those non-boomers out there, is what we used to use to communicate via voice channels. One of the many programs alongside things like Mumble and Skype, etc., etc. Yeah, that was early internet humor. And so unfortunately, that's like the only EverQuest thing that goes through my head. If there is an EverQuest 3, though, I think nowadays, since I cover MMOs quite frequently, I think I'd have the ability to manage that. I have nothing against it. I just don't have the experience to talk about it intelligently outside of a PS2 game that is not even remotely close to being a full representation of EverQuest. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Haps. Hi. Hope you've enjoyed covering FanFest. I'm still covering it, but yes, I have. My question is about the 2-minute meta and how it can be changed. Given you've played since the game launch, I've only been playing for the last few years. The 2-minute meta is all I know. That is such an unfortunate thing. How'd you guys handle burst windows before? Did you just have the point and optimal times in the fight to burst and coordinate based on that? If so, does that mean that some jobs had to hold resources? Genuinely curious how it used to work. So it went through quite a few iterations. In the early days, it was barely even discussed. It wasn't really until Trick Attack came in with Ninja where I'd say a lot of effort went into coordinating stuff. You sometimes would coordinate like a Bard's Faux Requiem if you could, but a lot of the times Bards had to use their MP post opener for Mana Song and TP Song. Once Ninja was brought into the fold with Trick Attack, though, it really opened up people's minds to like how to properly time that stuff. So when's trick was a constant thing, and it was really just making sure you always had resources for every single Trick Attack window, and that's why Ninja was such a big thing to have most of the time. And anything else that you could have that would compound on top of that would make those windows stronger became super meta. Machinist became really big, that expansion. Bard, in fact, in Heaven's Ward, the main place where Ninja really began to shine. Ninja, Dragoon, Bard, Machinist was like the god tier DPS comp, and then you'd see Warrior, Dark Knight. And then White Mage, eventually it was Astro plus one of the other two. I think it was mostly Astro Scholar, but early on it was White Mage Scholar because Astro was super underpowered. The big thing was, I'd say it was more like you broke the game into 30-second intervals, and every 30 seconds someone had something. Most of the time it was just like a run-of-the-mill skill that you would have access to, like a cooldown that just has a 30-second cooldown or something like that. We have those now. And then you'd have 1-minute burst windows, and 1-minute burst windows would often include just very basic stuff. Your first 1-minute window is usually fairly weak. Then you'd have 1:30, same thing. Then you'd get to 2 minutes, and the 2 minutes was usually really strong for a lot of people. So that's kind of how the 2-minute meta eventually became such an important thing. Then you'd have the interesting factor of 90 seconds and 3-minute windows. We have a few 90-second cooldowns now, but what essentially would happen is you'd have a burst window that happens on the even-numbered minutes, and a burst window that happens on the odd-numbered minutes. Because you were using your 90-second cooldowns on cooldown if the boss was always available. So it meant your 90 seconds desynced with 2s, like they do now, but would resync with 3s, which also happens now. But your 3-minute windows, there were some abilities like Battle Voice that were every 3 minutes. So essentially, it was about having a different type of burst window at every different minute. And if you died and needed to catch up, you essentially just attached yourself to the next 1-minute window whenever you could. So you'd wait for the next 30-second kind of minute to hit. You'd ask someone what their 30 seconds are, or if one of yours is on cooldown and then you die and get up, you can use that to time it yourself. But there was a way to catch back up and get back into tempo with everybody else's burst. It might change what the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 minute bursts are, but you could get back into it. It was feasible. Now, if you die at a bad time, you're desynced for the entire fight, and resetting it is almost worse than trying to than just using it on cooldown. So there's really no great way to go about doing it now, and that was a problem created by this particular 2-minute meta. Heck, even changing Trick Attack to now be a personal buff and Mug to be the old Trick Attack effect further damaged that. So it's been a complete mess, and I think that is the best alternative. It's very difficult for players who are not used to that to grasp it, because knowing how to get back into it is very important. But what it also means is there's less major outliers in a fight. If you have a bad crit RNG 2-minute window, that's not that bad in the old way, because now you can just, hopefully you have a better 3-minute window. You have all these new points at which to create outliers in your average DPS. That one going poorly isn't the end of the world, as long as you can catch back up in another one or perform well in some and not well. You can balance it out. And I think that's healthier for the game. And I think it was better before than it is now. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Good morning. Hi. Well, it's not morning for me, but it will be morning for you when you see this. So good morning. Since the next current, if you're reading this, is the first Q&A post FanFest, what are you most and least excited about so far? Least excited is still Variant because they haven't really mentioned adjusting the reward structure yet. Most excited is tough because I was a big fan of almost everything, but it's a lot of mystery. I'd say I'm most excited to learn more about things, but if I had to pick one particular feature, I guess I'll do what everyone thinks I'm going to do and say the in-game raid planner. Realistically, after Duty Recorder, I'm a little skeptical. But if it works, that's, as an individual feature, something I'm ultra excited about. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Happy. Hi. Hope you're doing well and still seeing them gym gains. You know it. Does DDR count as cardio? Yeah, my heart rate is at like 150 to 160 most of the time. I have to go up to 160, stop doing songs for a bit, let it come down to like 100, and that usually takes like 3 or 4 minutes, and then do another one. So that way I kind of hit all the heart rates in between. Not sure if you've seen the news about 16 questionnaire sent out in Japan about DLC, but I was curious. So I've been meaning to take a look at that. I have not looked at it yet. I don't want to talk too much about what I would want, but I guess when I love a game, all I really want is more. You know, I say that about the Souls games a lot. You know, like when a Souls game comes out, it's very rare that a game comes out and people go, can't wait for the DLC, even if there's no planned DLC, or that people start demanding it. And when somebody loves something and they want to engage with it more, that's what happens. You know, that's what happened with Elden Ring. They said, no, we don't have any plans for DLC. If people want it, we'll do it. Now they're doing it. And then, you know, Bloodborne, you know, we got Old Hunters. People wanted more. They're like, no, that's it. Sekiro, people wanted stuff. And they're like, no, we're like, yeah, it's just when you create something that people love, then they end up just wanting more. And it doesn't have to be a particular thing. Like, yeah, are there particular things that I would want that I think could just extend my gameplay? Sure. But I don't always innately want that. A great example is the old Final Fantasy games, 1 through 6. A lot of them have re-releases that have bonus content, and I genuinely don't miss those when I play versions that don't have them. Like, Final Fantasy 1 has like the extra caverns with the bosses from the other Final Fantasies. Like, when I played through that version, even just recently, I was like, it's whatever. It's not interesting to me. It's just going to extend my game. And I've engaged with this game enough times that it's like, I don't know, I don't really find value in just kind of the nostalgia bait of that. Whereas Final Fantasy 2 is a game I don't like, but has a great post game where it adds this entire extra story element that makes complete sense from the original story. Doesn't feel tacky. Unfortunately, it's in a game I don't like. But like sometimes more game isn't always the answer, and it needs to be something engaging. You know, that's, I guess, my example for people who would love Final Fantasy 2. That's a great addition. So for 16, though, it is in the boat of, if they could give me a reason to play it more and again, or when I decide to play it again, there's more to play, all of that would be welcome, because I genuinely loved my experience with that game. I have a feeling that some people's gripes with it are not gripes of mine, and some of the gripes I do have with it are not gripes for other people. And that's great, because it means that we're all just judging it based on its individual merits and our individual. Like, I've seen so much individual opinion and not like hive mind opinion about 16, which is way healthier than everybody like acting like it's the greatest thing ever and shunning anyone who just doesn't like it. I don't know. I mean, I also pay attention to a lot more groups of people, I suppose, than I think others do. I think some people try to like stay in like a bubble a little bit and maybe don't see that as much as I do. But for me, it is quite literally just give me more game, because I loved what I played. And so I don't have any, I do have specific requests. I'm just not going to go into them here because spoiler free. But yeah, no, I just want more game. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hi, Happy. Hi. Hope all is well and some sleep after partying hard in Vegas. I saw the cutout. Okay, good. Yeah, there you go. Asking this pre-fan fest, knowing it'll be answered after. What was the biggest moment of hype for you for the announcements? Related follow-up, what do you think about the biggest thing we should be looking for at the European Fan Fest? Biggest thing is job reveal, and Yoshi P's shirt again. We should get one job reveal, which should be based on the shirt that he wore at the recent North American one, and another shirt that will tease the one for Japan. I'd say that's probably the biggest thing to look for. We also know that the Final Fantasy 16 collaboration is going to be likely announced later this year. They said they're hoping to announce it before year's end, and given EU is in October, late October, that's the best time for them to really talk about it. So that's a big one. Now, my favorite from North America, though, I know I mentioned the raid planner earlier, but this is the hypest one. And honestly, the NA one is almost always the trailer, especially the lyrics for the trailer. I love how it is a song about how we're leaving the last 10 years behind and going on a new adventure. It's like, beget this realm reborn. You know, I can't remember. I wrote it down, and I wrote down some different ones, and I've been taking some opinions on some of the things people think it says. But the trailer is always so hype, and I love the song, and I love the energy. It's got some familiar elements for me as an 11 player, and it's got a lot of promises. And the press event that came out afterwards was even more promising. So it's just a bright future, a dawn trail, if you will. So just the trailer alone, I think, is the big thing. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey there. Hi. So now that Dawn Trail info is dropped, and more specifically, we've seen more of the graphical update, there's a burning question on my mind. Do you think they're ever going to fix the issue with the player characters' hair and beards not actually being attached to their faces? Probably not. My Rugadin's beard floats nearly a full inch off his face. It drives me insane. Really, that's strange. This was the one fix I was hoping for with the update, but it's just as prominent ever in the footage. I mean, I don't know that we really saw much of a beard in the footage. I mean, it's just, the footage doesn't suggest otherwise, but I don't recall seeing a Rugadin with a beard. I think he was completely hairless on his face. So I can't really, yeah, I can't give an answer to this. Like, do I think is irrelevant. All that matters is what they do or don't do. So I don't really know what to offer in this case, but please look forward to it. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Happy. Hi. I'm watching your Twitch stream for FanFest as I type this. Cool. I hope day one was fun for you. Looking forward to day two tomorrow. Thought about waiting for the live letter before asking my question, but I figure I'll just keep it 7.0 related. Sure. I was honestly kind of shocked that we're getting another melee job once again. As a Bard main and Fizz range player, I was really looking forward to a new one. Yeah, I really did think they were going to forego the whole scouting only has one damage. Keep in mind they have not confirmed it's scouting, but I mean, come on. Most likely scouting. I'd be shocked if it's not. If they say it's striking, I'm going to lose it. No, I mean, even just looking at the trailer, it looks like a scouting job. So no, but I feel you. Hey, we're definitely the 8.0 job. I look forward to that. Instead, I was thinking, of course, there is the new melee. I wonder about the possibility of them basically doing a reverse red mage where, well, it's melee is the main function. You have ranged abilities. Yeah, that was kind of what I was thinking anyway. It makes sense with some of the specialties that Corsair has in 11, and I'd imagine they'd pull at least a little bit from that. It's funny because Corsair now in 11 is really all melee. Outside of needing your bullets for very particular circumstances, it's very common to just throw on a bunch of Savage Blade damage and weapon skill damage and, you know, just blast out full damage Savage Blades. Unless that actually, you know what? That's what it was the last time I played several months ago. I don't know if that's still the case. But that was how it was for quite some time and probably is. Yeah, so I think that's the case. But when I think about Ninja kind of already is that, if you think about it. Ninja has a huge magic damage profile. I mean, Hyosho Renryu alone is like the single most important. It's one of the hardest hitting abilities in the game, and it's one of their most important abilities to crit and direct hit for their damage variance sake. But I mean, their burst window has Raitons, Hyoshos, you have Tenchi Jin, which will always be, you know, a Shuriken, which is actually physical damage, followed by a Raiton, followed by a Suiton. You know, they have such a huge magic damage profile that they kind of already function that way as sort of a reverse red mage. So if anything, it just makes sense for another job to have something kind of similar to that being a scouting job. I mean, scouting usually means, you know, you're stealthy, you're quick, but you're also able to maintain your distance. You're able to, and then able to fight up close if need be. And so, I mean, that just tracks for Corsair. So, yeah. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello, Mr. Happy. Hello. I hope I got this message out in time. Yeah, 22 hours ago, as of when I'm reading this. Since you engage with more members of the community, I was curious of what sort of theories about the t-shirt you've heard. Oh, so I made a video about this, and the video doesn't even include them all. I had to put more of the ones I had forgotten that I had seen in the comment section of that. That is a long video. I cannot go into that in too much detail right now, but I'm hearing more. Here's the problem. The further we get from the day of announcement, the worse the theories get. And at this point, people are just deliberately trying to come up with like theories that are far-fetched instead of trying to like have any sort of sense behind them. And it's just, oh, it's giving me a headache now. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Haps. Hi. Hope you're having a good Monday after an exciting weekend watching FanFest. I hope I'm having a good Monday, too, when it gets there. I've been wanting to try my hand at Ultimate content. Where are the best places to start and find resources? Are there any jobs I should look to take or avoid? That's going to depend on which Ultimate. In all honesty, outside of the new ones, if you're doing any of the old ones, which is where you should start, it doesn't matter. Like, yeah, there are jobs that are more overpowered at like 70 and 80, but honestly, we outscale them so much to the point where that's completely irrelevant. But more importantly, where to find resources. So normally I would have recommended the UPR Discord server. It was Ultimate Primal Rating. That one's dead. It literally is a gravestone in Discord right now. So I don't actually know the answer. The old Cleese guides might work. Clees. He has some write-ups on some of the old ones, and he has some write-ups on all of them, actually. So yeah, maybe the Cleese guides might be the way to go. I'm not sure how. I've never used them. I know Cleese, but I've never used the guide, so I only know when I'm doing Cleese strats because my party tells me. I think they're still mostly relevant. Here's the thing: even if the strats weren't entirely relevant, they tell you what the fight does, and that's important. I'd also honestly recommend just finding a decent POV and watching through it with the resource side by side, and that makes for a great study session. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Haps. Hi. Hope you're having a wonderful food for lunch sometime soon. I had a protein shake before this, and then after I finish recording this, I have a ton of cooking to do. So I also hope it's a good lunch. I was wondering if you plan on playing Baldur's Gate 3. So I'm hesitant to commit to that because I don't think I'll ever finish it. It's one thing if I pick up a game and then don't finish it. For me, it's another thing to buy a game knowing I will probably never finish it. And that's the reality of Baldur's Gate 3. I also don't have... I do have one person who asked if I maybe want to do a campaign, and I told them that dilemma is kind of a tough thing for me. So even if I do kind of start it, I can't guarantee that I'd finish it. So what I'm saying is I have no plans. I may end up playing it briefly, but it's too much game for me right now. I got way too many other things going on to even think about playing enough hours of Baldur's Gate 3 to ever finish it. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Mr. Happy. Hi. Regarding the resurrection issues in 14, again, I think I said this last week. It's less the issues and more so it's a high-end thing. What if high-end duties place the debuff on all party members to increase the res cost and cast times? No, see, I don't think that's a good solution either, because then you make doing any resing a complete hindrance at all. Even one res becomes a problem at that. That's the problem. You either make doing any reses at all a complete awful thing, which they already do with body checks in Savage and Ultimate whenever we do have those kinds of things, or you don't do anything and it's strong. That's the problem. It's like just increasing resources, and also cast time doesn't matter because Red Mage can instant cast. It just doesn't matter. You'd have to affect the recast, and then that job is nerfed, and then you have the other problem where the jobs that can res suddenly they lose that value, and then Black Mage just becomes the god. I mean, this is the universal problem with having the reses in the game in the first place. Is you need something to offset not being able to use them as frequently, specifically in high-end content. You can't just isolate it in high-end content and punish it there, because that upsets job balance in the high-end content itself, and then makes things like Black Mage far more valuable if resing is just not a valuable thing. So again, I think it's a difficult solution. I think there's probably a good way to do it, but there's going to be a downside to almost anything they decide to do. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Slappy. Hey, how dare you? Hey, Haps, hope you had a great week, and I hope you have a great week. I'm glad I read that at the speed I read it, because I almost wondered why you said that twice. Which job is the most boring to you? Like you'd fall asleep? Red Mage. I can't stand Red Mage. I literally despise every second I spend on that job. I find Summoner more fun than Red Mage. It's like it's that bad for me. I appreciate what it is. I appreciate its value. I don't want to play it. I don't want to play it at all. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Good day, Haps. Back on the Relic topic. I'll never escape it, and I'll never stop talking about it. Feel like letting us trade in tokens from Criterion for Meteorite. No. Again, I can't stress this enough. Criterion cannot be part of the Relic. Variant is what you might say, and in that case, it would be exchanging potsherds for meteorites, which I think is perfectly acceptable. Criterion is a high-end Savage level and Savage item level scaled content. It will never be involved with the Relic. And I know you're thinking, oh, it's harmless if it's really difficult. No. All of the objectives need to be about equal in alignment with difficulty. outside of being able to do the multiple activities for the same thing. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh, well, I mean, yeah, you don't have to do that. Maybe you can make it variant and Criterion. But I think you have to leave Criterion out of it. You have to go directly into variant with potsherds, and that's fine. You know, I have nothing against that idea. But Criterion, no. And also, they very clearly designed the Relic to be only tomes from the get-go, and we're never going to change it, and never had any intention of doing it differently, and probably locked that in so long ago that there's no way they're going to develop a whole new system for it while they're working on everything else. So we're doomed on this one. So they could do a lot of things, but they're not going to. Hashtag Mr. Happy Monday. Good day, Happy. Good day. Not from Australia. Oh, well, I'll just figure out to mix it up. A joke-ish question and a real one. Thoughts on a count-up style series leading up to the new Armored Core? I don't know if that's the joke or the real one, so I'm going to read the rest first. Growing up, the story aspects of the game always flew above my head until close to Raven when I was old enough to care and pay attention. In terms of a pie chart, when it comes to story, gameplay, and actual mech customization, what do you find most compelling? Story is not the most compelling thing about Armored Core by a mile. The tone of like the characters and the way they speak and how they address each other, that's important for the actual, again, tone setting of the game. But the story itself, no, I don't think it's not like a Souls game where the story kind of sits in the back and always has you curious. It doesn't quite have that level of impact, no. But the count-up style one, I assume, is the joke question, because I think it's nigh impossible without pirating the games to actually play all of the games. I tried to buy one, and then the place I tried to buy it from said they actually didn't have it, and that was going to be like $300, and it was like, all right, well, I'm kind of glad I dodged that bullet at this point. But yeah, since Armored Core is not an easy franchise to get into, you pretty much have to start with 6. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello there, Mr. Happy. Hi. Hello. Halo. Now that the second variant is out, what do you think the chances are of us getting a variant dungeon roulette? I don't think we're ever going to get it. I want it, and I'm going to keep saying that I want it, but I don't expect it. And, that's unfortunate. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello, Happy. Hi. Hope this finds you well. I hope my answer finds you well. Our static is currently pondering on maximizing Savage Raid output with the 3 Fizz range classes. For a second, I thought you meant you were bringing 3. Right now, we're going with Machinist, but still contemplating on Barter Dancer. What would you recommend? Regards again to a law. That's not a be-all, end-all answer. For example, if you have a lot of selfish DPS, if you have a Samurai, you have to take a Dancer. I'm sorry, you do not have a choice. Dancer is the only choice. If you don't have a Samurai, then Machinist becomes a much better option. Dancer is still fine. And honestly, they all become kind of even, but Machinist's value goes up considerably. And if you have a lot of buffing jobs, then Machinist actually becomes a little bit higher value. Like if you have like Red Mage, Ninja, Dragoon, I would probably take Machinist in that case. Like Dancer is still great in that case, and you literally can never go wrong with Barter Dancer as far as I'm concerned, as long as the person can play it. But if you have a ton of buffers in the other spots, then taking Machinist becomes a bit more valuable. So those are just a few recommendations, but there is no be-all, end-all to that. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hi there, Happy. Hi. Hope you're doing well. You too. I sure am. Good. Finish the entire raid tier purely in PF. Kill me. I won't. You're already dead. I wanted to ask for your take on the new job roles announced. I mean, it was one of the 2 expectations. Caster was a foregone conclusion, and then it was between scouting and Fizz ranged, and scouting won this one. So specifically, the divide with the community being between a melee being announced instead of a Fizz range. Personally, I was sure we were going to get a Fizz range since we only have 3 options, but people are saying scouting only. Yeah, like I said, I don't even think it's a matter of division. It was a matter of division of prediction, because I mean, it literally was only ever going to go one of 2 ways. I would prefer they merge scouting back into striking. When Ninja released, all of the gear that was out prior to Ninja had Dex added on to it. And then they also added scouting gear for anything that was coming 2.4 and onward. I would prefer they just put Dex on striking gear and get rid of the scouting set altogether, because I don't think it's, I don't think it's worth having 3 different sets. I think that's a better solution than adding another melee to it, which is almost certainly what they're doing here. But it is what it is, and it's like, you just got to take it. I didn't predict it. I didn't think that was compelling enough, and I was wrong. And now we'll just have to wait till 8.0 for Fizz range, where that is now almost a certainty. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hi, Haps. Hi, Aloha. Ivy's here, but not Aloha. Hi, Alpha Plushie on the second row. Is that the only Alpha Plushie? I have like 4 of them in the other room, I think. When you're reading this, we'll probably know whether we're getting job or jobs in 7.0, but I was curious as to your preference regarding the approach with new jobs. With Endwalker, we got Sage, which is unique to 14 in terms of design and identity, primarily the weapon type. As a long-time fan of Final Fantasy, are you a fan of that approach going forward, or would you prefer the classic jobs? I'm indifferent. At the end of the day, whether they take an old idea and put it into 14 and have to come up with a way of doing that, or they come up with a brand new idea that adds to Final Fantasy XIV's job repertoire, I'm okay with either. You know, as long as it's well executed, I like the look of it, I like the feel of it, the style of it. Even if I don't, as long as some people do, that's the most important thing, you know? So I don't feel like I don't feel one way or the other about it. You know, I just am glad to see the game grow and for people to get something that they think is cool and that they can truly vibe with. Are there any other classic Final Fantasy jobs other than Puppet Master you'd like to see get a fresh coat of paint? I mean, I think Beastmaster also. I mean, I think there's a lot that they could do. Time Mage, Beastmaster. Like, there's so many that they could incorporate and, you know, put a new twist on. And almost any of them I'd be okay to see at least an attempt at. But I do think some are more exciting or less, like the Green Mage thing people are doing from Ivalice. From, I think it's like Tactics A2. No, I don't care. No, not at all. But yeah, almost all like Geo, Beast, yeah, all that stuff. It'd be cool. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Happy, was that Gorgle behind Graha? You mean Go-Go? Mimic as a new caster? No. There's a lot of people dressed like that in the trailer. I know he's the most prominent one, but you can spot other ones. That's just a common garb from over there. But it is Go-Go's garb without a shadow of a doubt. So I don't think that means Go-Go's in the trailer. I just think that his garb is from the New World. Which is surprising because, wait. No, that actually makes even more sense because... Oh, well, no, he's a Mimic, not a Blue Mage. Yeah. Because I was going to say that, you know, Blue Magic also comes from the New World. So the fact that, you know, he also cut... Yeah, I mean, even still, that works out. But regardless, no. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello, Happy. Longtime watcher, first-time poster. Welcome. With Criterion being hot right... so hot right now. Rather than run the new one, my group decided to run the first one, and we beat all 12 paths of the variant. But when we tried the extreme, we kept failing the DPS check. We've been at it for many hours, and the lowest we've gotten is 4% with no deaths and perfect mechs. All right, hold on. Let me read the rest. We all have mechanics down and are not getting hit by damage down, but still cannot pass the DPS check. Confirm we're all eating food in... You mean 640 gear. Not 540. You mean 640. Right? I'll say this. If you're in... Well, wait a minute. Does the old one have an item? Let me check. I'm logged into the game right now. Let me see if the old one has an item level sync. Because if you're being item level synced, you're losing your materia. But I can tell you right now, if you're in current gear and failing the DPS check, it is a performance issue. It means that as a group, as individuals, you are not playing your jobs properly. Because... for Criterion normal, you should smash that DPS check if you're in anything remotely close to BIS. So, it is item level syncing you to 635, so your melds are doing absolutely nothing. That's not the reason, though, because that means you are synced to 635. It genuinely just means you guys aren't playing your jobs well. That's it. That's the honest truth. So... yeah, if you want to send people to Snow and Sky Sea to check their DPS, sure. But that's the matter of fact, is you're just not playing well. That's it. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Haps, I hope you enjoyed FanFest. I did. I was wondering, with PS5 about halfway through its life cycle and PS4 turning 10, how do you think the PS4 will be supported before we have another PS3? The PS4 is not a major deterring factor for updating 14 because they just leave certain things out that would, you know, not run well on the PS4. The PS3 was a genuine piece of hardware, like, disparity. Like, it literally, like, the way it's built makes it unable to run things well at all unless they're made specifically for the PS3. And even then, it's an absolute headache. It's why PS3 ports to, like, PS4, PS5, or PC are so infrequent and disastrous. Because they almost need to be rebuilt, or they pretty much do need to be rebuilt from the ground up in order to happen. The PS4 that's not the case. So the PS4, I think they will choose to drop it in 8.0, but I don't think it matters that much because they just don't give certain things until the PS5 install base rivals that of the PS4. Or I'm sorry, the potential install base rivals that of the PS4. I think they'll keep it. So it could survive all the way into 8.0, but At least we know it's 7.0. So, we can't give it 2 years max because Dawn Trail supports it, and it's not going to lose support in the middle of Dawn Trail. So you're looking at another 2.5. So you're looking at about 3.5 years, which you might as well just call a spade and call it 4 years. But yeah, so no, you're looking at minimum 3.5 to 4 years. And, you know, I don't even think that necessarily means the end of it. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey there. Hi. This is less of a question, more of a thoughts. Sometimes questions are okay. Sometimes they aren't. Just me or the way buffs implemented in this game seem backwards? Pretty sure buffs are similar in most every game. What I mean is the fact that having a party buff means you will, even with the buff, contribute overall less damage. Especially notice this as I'm leveling Ast and after White Mage and Sage, I have to do so much more work just to contribute less damage. Our Bard. So you're saying, I think I understand what you're saying. You're saying that because you have a raid buff, your overall DPS contribution is lower than jobs that offer no buffs and are selfish. Jobs like Black Mages you list right here. So the reason for that is because if you offered exactly the same as them and buffs, or with the buffs offered exactly the same as them, what would inevitably happen is the buff has to get pruned back to make it so that you don't actually contribute more than them. It's a very delicate act that has to be balanced very, very carefully. And I don't think they've found that balance just yet. I think some of the ranged fizz need more personal damage. I think jobs like Red Mage need more personal damage. And I think that they slowly are starting to unfactor things like, you know, ranged advantage, you know, the range tax as they used to call it. And they've said so themselves. I understand what you mean, but unfortunately the reality is that if with the buff, you offer the same or more, and it could swing very easily in that particular case, that the jobs that offer none become pointless in a sense. Now, you might be thinking, oh, but if they all offer about the same, then you can play whatever you want and it works out just fine. See, that's what common sense would tell you. But unfortunately, that's not what human sense would tell you, because people don't know how to do math and people don't know how to read charts, and people take all the information they get from FF logs and try to come up with an opinion that's so ill-informed that it honestly makes me ill. So it's better for the sake of the game, for the sake of human nature, that certain jobs just have a lower overall RDPS, because the game is built to try to encourage you to bring the different roles. So it's more important to compete within your role, but make sure that no role is too behind another role. So that way you can have every different utility, which is also a factor, having Feint, having Addle, having a ranged Fizz, AoE defense, or having, you know, Samba, or having, you know, Dismantle. Like, all of those different factors also play into it. So it's not just that you have a damage buff, it's that you have these other things as well that contribute, and they want to make sure that there's kind of an even level of how much you contribute depending on how many of those different tools that you have. So that's how it works. Hopefully that made sense. There was a question that asked me what hairstyles I want. I literally don't even have the esthetician unlocked. I'm not kidding. My main doesn't have the esthetician unlocked. I think I have it unlocked on one alt. So not the right demographic here. Anyway, hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello, Mister. First time asker here. Thanks for asking, and thanks for answering. If you do, writing this pre-FanFest. Sure. Since there's zero chance for a new healer, correct, do you think there will be big changes to the healer meta? No. It's the bottom line. It's not going to drastically change. It's just, okay, let me rephrase this. There is little reason to believe that it will change a lot, because the reason it functions the way it does now is to make it easy to hop in and out of healing and DPS, while making sure you can also have a tool for pretty much every situation within what your role needs to cover. Now, the only real thing you can do at this point with healer that makes sense within that design parameter is remove some of their other skills to force them to GCD heal. Or you go the other way with it and you make more skills that offer dual damage and utility, things like Numa, for example, so that when you go to spend the GCD, you're still forced to use the GCD. You feel a little bit better about your contribution to the overall raid, and you still get to do damage at the same time. So it forces you to engage in both aspects of the job at once. And if they have more abilities like that, those are about the only two shakeups I could see. And I don't think either of them are terribly complex. Hashtag happy trails with Mr. Happy. I don't like that. Hey, hi. Are there any small quality of life updates you'd like to see added? I would like to see you be able to customize your materia based on the job that it's equipped to. So that way, if you have two jobs within the same role that have different materia, you could still have the right materia on and not try to find this weird in-between set when there happens to be a spell speed set versus a crit set versus depending on the job that you're playing versus the exact levels that you want versus your rotation need to be so exact. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Something a little smaller, skill speed and spell speed should both be haste. Just make it one stat. There's no reason to make it more complicated than that. Hashtag Mr. Happy on a Monday. Sup, Mr. Haps? Hello. Like you, I also played DDR for years and still on and off this day. Nice. For me, it was off and it's back on now. I have a metal pad myself I kept around over the years. My question is, what would be your favorite series of songs or types of series or songs or types of songs you like playing? Eurobeat. Anytime I can go for Eurobeat, that really gets me excited. I will say this, in terms of serious, I have played Through the Fire and Flames on pad, and that was the most painful thing I've ever done. I finished it, and it hurt. But for favorites, I don't think I can name any because there's too many. So, yeah, just Eurobeat. I'd like to go Eurobeat most of the time. All right, I'm starting to, well, not fall asleep, but I'm waning in and out of being able to pay attention and give every question all the attention that it needs. However, there are a couple that I still want to really touch upon. Just grab them real quick because there's not too many left and there's some that I skipped. What's Aloha? Hi, Aloha. What's your favorite food? Mine. That's what his favorite food is. He tries to make it mine. Hear about the new Kingdom Hearts Missing Key mobile game? I couldn't care less at this point about Kingdom Hearts mobile games, in all honesty, because that franchise, I just want to play 4, and if 4 isn't any better than 3, I'm done with Kingdom Hearts. Want to double check. I was healing in Stone Vigil, reached the second curse pull, a huge amount after that. Oh yeah, it's a lot of just, did I heal well? Let's see. Oh, the tank didn't have good gear. Yeah, if a tank doesn't have good gear on, it's their fault, and they should upgrade their gear. Tanks keeping up to date on gear from 1 to 50 is very, very important. There's a few other things here that I saw that I just wanted to grab real quick. Oh, how does downloading a video affect the monetization? I actually have no idea. So, but I just tell people to do whatever they want and not worry about it. If a creator calls to something that does help them, focus on that and less about what you're doing and if it's negatively affecting them, because a lot of the times people do that without saying anything and we have no control over it. So that's a big thing. Then there was like, why do you think they didn't make, See the Sacrifice doable on Blue Mage? They don't want to make limit break stuff. That's it. That's the end of it. They just literally don't want to have to program in limit break related stuff on a system level for a job that they programmed limit breaks out of in the first place, like when they made it. It's probably a huge headache. What else was there? There was a few other things I remember skipping. There was someone who tried to skip my job theories video comment section and come here, and I'm like, so well, again, whenever there's a thoughts related video, these are the ones, or a thoughts related question, these are the ones I struggle with. When it's somebody just presents a thought and goes, what do you think? And it's like, I don't find my opinion valuable enough to want to dignify it. Like sometimes, yeah, obviously the whole point of the video is I hear ideas, but I was just presenting the stuff that I saw. I'm not like constantly seeking out new ideas and stuff because, like I said earlier, they've gotten further and further and further from making sense. They're further and further reaches that are going away from the fact that it's even the turtles. Like it's obviously we look at the individual elements, the names, the color, the fact that they're turtles, what the location we're going to, the context of all those things matter. But the more and more of them I read, the less and less of them I want to read, which is why I made that video, because that lets everyone put it in one place. And then that's the place to put it. And then everyone can have their discussions and their disagreements there. And I can be kind of free of that. So I can't offer it. It's my insight's not valuable in speculation. Outside of, maybe catching a thing here or two. But the more complicated they get or the more off the wall they get, the less interested I am in them as a whole in terms of the theories. And then I know there was something else that I skipped right over. And then I thought I would come back to. What was it? Someone asking me just, what did I like about the keynote? What did I like about the live letter? I mean, I had videos on that individually for a reason. So, for me, it's, be repeating something I've already talked about, like, in great detail. Then, What was there? Another one. There's, oh yeah, there's like, what are some of the craziest things you've heard for the t-shirts? Yeah, I had the video, and obviously there's been a whole, oh, never mind. Just watched a few videos. Of course, Eric got me 100%. Okay, yeah. It's a super believable theory, but I mean, I've seen to comment that the Shikari thing, I did see that as well. You know, I left that out because I don't think they'll go with an Evilise named class in the new world. So that's just me personally. I still don't think that's the only one. I'm almost certain that there was something else that I just saw and said at most I mentioned that at the end, and now I don't know. Yeah, because then some of them were just like, what was your favorite part? I skipped over those because I've kind of already talked about it from other questions. What do you think the 16 collab will give us? You know, Tortle minion mount. That is, you know, the most likely thing, I think. And then, you know, there's what are more of your t-shirt theories, and yeah, so I think I've gotten almost everything here, and at this point I am hungry. All I have had today was breakfast, which was a shake, and lunch, which was a shake. Two different shakes. One was it's a meal replacement shake, and the other one was a protein shake, and then I had some nuts. So that's all I've had all day. So I'd like to go cook food for the next several days while this renders, get this posted, and then I'll worry about the other videos that I'm going to do throughout the rest of the week. Anyway, that is going to be a wrap for this video. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share, and stay tuned. We'll be doing plenty of stuff on Dawn Trail until I run out of random things to make videos about, and then we'll wait for news in October. But anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care.